in this case right here is probably one of the most exciting accessories I think ever for me. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but if you've been watching this channel long enough, you'll know exactly why when I tell you what's in here. Insta360 sent me over a little care package of a bunch of new accessories for the X5. This is like GPS remote thing. We'll get into that in another video. This mega battery, really cool. They've found a way to make like the original battery that the Insta360 comes with is 2400 mAh, and this one is 2800. There's always been one drawback for me with the X5. And that's, again, if you've watched this channel, you know I'm a huge fan of this camera right here. This is the DJI Action 5, and you can see there's a little ND filter on the front here. It just pops right on. This allows me to control the shutter and get a cinematic motion blur at the expense of some stabilization and stuff like that. But same thing, Ace Pro 2, ND filter. Like, I am a major fan of ND filters. This Pocket 3 that I'm using right now also is using ND filters. So when it comes to me using this camera, I love so much of what it offers. Like the versatility, the fun factor, the shots that you can get with a 360 camera, and just the like overall use. Like I love even vlogging with it like this because I get to hold it kind of like a Nokia. I'm not holding something sideways like that. And onboard audio, everything, this camera is incredible. But it's missing one key feature for me, and that's ND filters, because if you look at the lenses here, they stick out. It's a very difficult fate to have ND filters on here. Until today. So when I got the package and I opened this up, this one didn't really have a box on it. It just kind of was an unmarked box with this. And inside, lo and behold, ND filters for the X5. The ones they sent me were the ND64, which is perfect because it's perfect for bright days. But how do they work? The first thing that I noticed with these things is that they have this kind of like mirror coating. It's ND on the inside, mirror coating on the outside. My assumption is that that is used for helping with the flares and stuff, because everything's just going to reflect off as opposed to into the lens. But one of the awesome features of the X5, besides the replaceable lenses, is that you can still mount these things kind of like the lens guard. So there it is. It's our little astronaut. Look at this thing. And they both just kind of mount on like that. Now you've got ND64, everything. And then when you turn on the camera, it detects that the NDs are on. It asks you which one. There, ND64, boom. So now we're using ND filters. One of the cool side effects of having this little mirror thing is that when you're actually vlogging with it, you can see yourself directly in the lens. So it's like, it gives you a good feedback to remember to look at the lens. Enough talking about this. We're gonna take it outside because I want you guys to see how it works, and we'll finish up out there. This is incredible. What would an ND filter be without some extreme sort of fast motion to really showcase the motion blur? And that's what we're doing here. We're gonna use the 3-meter stick, which is what I'm on right now. Get this thing way out there and have a good time. Woo! The only thing that I am a little bit worried about with this thing is the bobbing up and down. That might change things a little bit, but let's see what we got here. There's actually a warning on this thing that says, watch out for power lines. Man, I really got no flexibility anymore these days. I love seeing the wheel spin and not it just being like sucky.
ND filters for this type of stuff really shine because you're getting that immersive feeling of motion, and you can't really get that without ND filters. Like, I'll actually show you right now, just so you can see. I'm gonna take the ND filters off so you can see what it would look like without it and just why it's just not as good. So this would normally look super awesome if it had NDs, but it doesn't now because there's no sense of motion, there's no sense of speed, because it's just a fully sharp shutter. I could pause this at any moment and the frame would be sharp, versus if I were to go back and take a frame from the ND footage, you would see it's not sharp. Like I would have motion beside me. Okay, we're back on the NDs, and as you can see, like we've got motion. Look at this. Look at my wheel. Look at this. Look at the way it moves. It just feels good. Insta360 just keeps improving and keeps reiterating on an already fantastic device. Accessories like this ND filter make it just such a pleasure to use, especially for things like this. Like, a lot of people are gonna use their X5 for action sport. And actually, I gotta hit that bank. 1 second, you ready for this? Woo! There is a little bit of a compromise when you are using the ND filters, obviously, because one of the new features of the X5 is called adaptive tone, which does work really well to balance the exposures on both sides and really give you just like more dynamic range, all the good things that we like to hear. However, for me, again, motion blur is king. It's probably not for everybody, but it's well documented on my channel. If you go back and look, like, I am an ND fiend. And the fact that we've just seen so many awesome updates from Insta360 is giving me kind of like retro Fujifilm vibes, because we're getting basically a new camera. It seems like with every update, it's like they're very conscious of what is coming from other companies down the road, and they're making sure to fortify and put everything that they have into the X5, because like, why would you not do that? Currently, there isn't that much competition in the 360 space, but I believe that that's going to be a very different landscape within a few months. I don't have any insider information for that, but if you've been on the internet, in the last 48 years, then you know that there is some things coming very fast down the road. I think I just missed the C-Bus. Yep. That's my C-Bus right there. Just missed it, which means it's probably another 8 to 15 minutes. I'm not sure what it is. I won't check yet. Actually, I see it out there. But we are now shooting in full 8K glory. I told you in the last video I haven't used 8K much. I've been doing a little bit of experimenting, and what I found is that 8K actually does look really good. However, I found that when you're moving and walking in 8K, it can look like, if you're looking at different parts of the areas, like, it's very noisy. There's like weird artifacts and things going on that I found when you're moving. The 5.7K plus and the 5.7K I think look better, but when you're stationary, the 8K looks absolutely incredible. Like, the detail coming out of this thing is incredible. I just said that twice because 3 times incredible. So basically what I'm saying is that for stationary shots, I think 8K is 100% the way to go. But when you're moving and when you're going into varying light sources, I think the 5.7K plus is probably the sweet spot. Okay, I think I just found an unintentional hack for using the NDs in single lens mode. Quick interruption here. Chris, rule number 1 with 360 cameras, you have to keep the lens free of particles, and that is even more true for ND filters. So if you looked at a lot of the footage with the single lens, when the sun was hitting it just right, like, you could see a lot of little things on it. That's a result of not wiping the lens. Like, that is kind of a rule number 1 with 360 cameras, is you have to keep the lenses as clean as possible, or else the little particles will show up in the footage. So sorry about that. Remember that when you're using ND filters, and when you see that, be a reminder that I broke rule number 1. Because you've got 2 lenses, here, I'll show you again. I've mounted the ND to one side, which we are now, but now we're going into a darker spot where we're not gonna need flip the lens around to the one that doesn't have an ND on it. And boom, there you go. And now I'm using the other side, like I've rotated the camera. I'm still able to vlog to you guys. I can't see the screen anymore, but I could also just flip to the other side. But my point is now you've got one point of view without a ND for the darker sides, and then you have the other point of view with the ND on. There we go, ND on, and boom. See? Instant drop. We don't need to have the ND filter on both sides if you're using it for single lens mode, unless you kind of want to, but this way you get the indoor view and the outdoor view at the same time. So, pretty sweet. Oh, you already know we're not about that life. We are about stair life, because stair life increases life. Something like that. Again, we're on the ND64 on the front-facing camera, and then no ND on the back camera. That way I can get I get two different exposures at my disposal. I'm not actually sure what the native aperture is of these lenses. Like, it seems like it's pretty high because I'm getting a very high exposure. Like ND64 on the Action 5 or the Ace Pro 2 would be more than enough. I almost feel like you need an ND 128. And I'm here. Dude, I just want to say, every time you're playing here, it literally makes my day.
Wow.
The Metallica covers. Like, I feel like most people who are coming through here have no idea you're playing Metallica. And every time I come through, I'm like just rocking out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. I really appreciate
Yeah.
the compliment. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people don't even know it's Metallica.
Yeah. So many times, like, I hear people say, "Oh, like that's such beautiful music," and I'm like, "It's like Call of Cthulhu." And I'm like, "What's your name, man? What's your name?"
I'm Paul. What's yours?
Paul. Chris.
Chris.
Yeah,
Hey.
love it. Thank you. The beautiful waterfront station, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this and you haven't watched my previous vlogs, I know that this is probably a pretty like niche use case for wanting to use ND filters, like for a normal walk and talk type vlog. Like, there's not much of a reason to use it for this, even though I still think it adds to the overall look. Like, I love the motion blur, I love the look of the people and the cars going by me. But if you're on an empty street, it's less obvious. Now, there are some technical things. Like for me, I actually have a hunch that when you slow down the shutter speed, that the colors look a lot better because the camera's not opening and closing as fast. It's not as sharp. So a lot of the colors kind of like blend in and become a little bit more pastel-y. Like, I've just noticed that with my videos when even if I use the Action 5 in auto versus the Action 5 with NDs, I always prefer the color grade in the in the ND footage, like the slowed down shutter. And I don't have anything to prove that. That's just a hunch. The other thing is that when it comes to practical use cases, like for people who are doing car videos, things like that, any like rollers with ND filters is going to make the footage look so much better and look way more realistic and look like it was shot on a really expensive camera, so to speak. That is where I think like any sort of action sports where it's smooth, like riding a bike, things like that, where you're getting the motion blur, like you want the sense of speed, but you're also on a stabilized device or object. That's where you're really gonna see massive benefits. Insta360 does have the ND motion ND software, which you can apply in post, and it does actually work pretty well, but it's kind of like portrait mode, like the early days of portrait mode. When you're using it, you can clearly see, like if you move too fast, you can see the stitch lines break, things like that. If I'm waving my hand like this in the frame, it creates this kind of weird, it's trying to track my hand, but it's not fast enough, like that kind of thing. So I think if you're doing like a stationary shot or you're on an object like a motorcycle that's not flailing its arms all around and it's moving in a single direction, it works pretty well, but nothing obviously is going to beat actual ND. So that's just my kind of take on the Insta360 X5 ND filters. I think they're absolutely fantastic. As of right now, I don't know how much they cost. Like I said, Insta360 sent these over because they know how much of an ND nerd I am. So thank you Insta360 for that. And this is in no way a sponsored video. And if you want to fight about it in the comments, let's do it. But I have a lot of videos to back up my love for ND filters and why I like using them, even with all the pitfalls. All in all, these ND filters are, to me, just a signal that Insta360 is not messing around when it comes to their cameras. Like with the firmware updates, the new accessories that they just launched, like that GPS remote with the built-in microphone, including 32-bit onboard recording audio, which I'm pumped to test out. The new battery, the 2800 mAh versus 2400 mAh, and obviously these ND filters, like they're here to play ball. Like they're not messing around. They're constantly improving. Like I said earlier, I'm getting old Fujifilm vibes from them. Like I remember when I had my X-T3 and they pushed an update and all of a sudden the X-T3 could shoot 120 frames per second. It had, I'm pretty sure it had 10-bit color. It could shoot log, all of that kind of stuff. And that was just in an update, which is, it's crazy. So there are two main cons that I've found with the ND filters, which are by no means deal breakers. One of them will get better, one of them won't. The first one is I find the auto white balance is a little bit too cool when in the single lens mode. It seemed to be okay in the 360 mode. Not sure why. Maybe there's a sensor in the lens that's getting thrown off. So I've manually set it here to 10,000 Kelvin, which I think looks pretty good on the screen. We'll see how it looks in the final result here. I'm sure that will get better with software updates and things like that. Again, not really a big deal. The other one is that I noticed in a few of my shots that my lens was pretty dirty. There was little hairs and stuff stuck to the ND filter, and when the sun was hitting directly, like you could see the kind of particles just sitting there on the front. I didn't notice it too much in the 360 footage, but definitely in the single lens footage. That is always going to be a kind of con of a 360 and having a spherical lens design. But again, not a deal breaker. Just make sure that you're keeping these things clean. That's just a good practice with 360 cameras to begin with. I am super pumped. I just looked at a bunch of the footage. I think it looks incredible. There's always room for improvements and things like that, especially on my end. But as far as a first run with ND filters, like I am blown away. I think it looks incredible. The motion blur looks amazing. The footage makes the camera look more like a real camera than a action camera. So no complaints here. I did just look as well. They are available in 16, 32, and 64 ND. And I believe the prices are like 89 Canadian, something like that, which if you've ever bought ND filters for cameras, they are not cheap, especially ones that are essentially proprietary to a system. So if you want to check out the ND filters, There's a link below, and I will see you guys in the next video.